And as Greg says, it all starts with the writing. And as an actor, it is an absolute joy to work with such a talented team. Although sometimes I wish I could make suggestions, like maybe Rebecca James could invent rap or something. I don't know. That would be really fun. And so right now, Greg is taking a brief moment to regroup. So I wanted to ask you guys, how many of you guys have written your own Murdoch-inspired fan fiction? Anybody? Oh, cool. Well, I mean, share it on social media. I'd love to check it out. And Greg has done such a great job moderating the panel so far. I think we should maybe bring him out again. Thank you.
I did do a quick wardrobe change.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you, Muna. So this man needs no introduction, but I'll try anyway. For the last 10 seasons, he's brought Detective Murdoch to life with great sensitivity, restraint, quiet strength, and humor. Here to take a look back and give us some hints about the future is Mr. Yannick Bisson.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Man, why, oh, why did I agree to do this by myself? Holy smokes.
Is it nice to wear street clothes?
It's great. You know, we were just talking about that yesterday on set. Do we wear our Murdoch outfits more days of the year than anything else? I think it's pretty close. It really is. So 7 months, you're in it 12, 14 hours a day. That's more than... Anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's go back 10 seasons. Where were you at in your career when Murdoch Mysteries came along and this character came along?
I was definitely at a crossroads. You know, our kids were a certain age. I was a certain age. I had other interests and other ways to make money that were definitely viable. I enjoy building, and showbiz had so many ups and downs. I had just been back from Los Angeles, come close again on a few things, and I was really up against it, to be honest with you, and I had pretty much made up my mind that I was going to need to pursue these other things because, you know, you have so many earning years in life and you've got to make the most of it. And then they were interested in me for this show, and I've talked about, you know, how obscure the concept was on the landscape at the time, and I was like, oh, well, this isn't going to do it. And then on top of that, there was an actors' strike at the time, and everything across the board shut down in Canada, so we were all in limbo, and I was definitely out. I was done. And then I got a phone call about Murdoch Mysteries, and so the Murdoch Mysteries at the time.
Right.
And so I shuffled on down to a casting. I didn't realize at that point that they were fairly set on me. So I was still reading with a lot of people and still had a foot out the door, really.
Wow.
Until most of the way through picking all of the other cast members.
Wow. So there were other people in the room at the time that you, of course, you can't name, right? That were up for the role. Do you know?
No, they didn't do that to us, no. There may have been a lot of other considerations. In fact, there was, I don't know if you've heard this story before, but there was, the network was concerned about the age of Murdoch. Should he be younger or should he be older? And I thought, well, I'm happy with being the younger Murdoch. Turns out I was the older Murdoch.
Wow.
Yeah.
It feels as though these last 9 seasons and heading into the 10th have gone by really quickly for me as a viewer. What about you? Okay, yeah, what about you as an actor on this show? Has it gone by quickly as well?
One thing I do have to say is there are markers along the way. There are people along the way. And I have to say, I don't know if everybody here knows it. Greg has been a huge, huge fan of the show and supporter of the show from the beginning. And that's, not by chance that he's here sort of celebrating with us. And I've always appreciated that. And I wanted to say it in front of people. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Okay, now back to you.
It's not easy, is it?
No. I'm just supposed to ask questions. No one's supposed to look at me. So has it gone by in a flash, these 10 years?
Yeah, we talk about it now. Tom and I were on set late last night, and and I said, well, we can't really say these things now. It's been 10 years. No, Tom, it's been 10 years. Nope. 07 to 16. I said, by the time what we're doing tonight airs in the UK, it will be 10 years. Fine. Yeah, it has gone by like that. It really has.
That was a great impression, by the way. Forget about evolution of character. I like the evolution of your impersonations over the last 10 seasons. But let's talk about the evolution of the character. We've seen Murdoch become a little bit more liberal in his thinking, the way that the society has changed, and he's actually been ahead of society in some cases. As an actor, you like to see growth in a character. Have you been happy with the growth that you've seen in William over these last 9, heading into 10 seasons?
Yeah. It was by design that he's fairly buttoned down. So I sort of have to fight too much growth. Some days, the scripts come down and, well, that might be a little too big of a jump, an increment, okay. Whatever thing it could be. Also, he is progressive in thought and in sort of view, so you do have to allow him to sort of not be discriminating or whatever. And I like to say that he is our best us on our best day. So, for him to be too close-minded or stubborn or, archaic in his thinking is not great. So, got to let him out a little bit at a time. I kind of have the leash on all those guys you were just talking to.
That's interesting. So how much of an input, not that you necessarily influence the writer's room, but you definitely have feedback and opinions about this character because you own him now? You all actually know more at this point about their thought process, their favorites, and all of that stuff than I do. I try not to interfere. I don't even read the preliminary drafts of the scripts because I want to I want to read it the first time in the read-through, in the room, at speed. I have voiced concerns maybe 3 times in 10 years where there was something, and not all pertaining to my character. It was just either a pace thing or a plot thing or whatever. And then the rest of anything any change I affect is on the floor, just syntax, making it fit into my mouth. That's about it. Other characters, sometimes, if you can imagine the scope of how many words have been written over 10 years, some things that slip through sound a little too modern, so to an individual actor, I'll ask them, hey, would you be okay with saying it this way? Just so we can maintain, the Murdoch-esque sound. But that's about it. I have suggested a couple of ideas, like shooting in warmer places. That's about it. Yeah, and you know, Craig posted that picture a few nights ago from Dundas in that torrential rain. So talk about how weather impacts on you guys. It can be very, very hot like this summer has been, but it can be really, really cold like a couple of years ago that we had here in southern Ontario. And that's got to have an impact on all of you guys when you're out on location, in front of and behind the camera.
Yeah, it's toughest on, you know, the crew. A couple nights ago, our crew was rapping in very dangerous winds, in mud, in the dark. It can be dangerous because we're running a lot of electricity all over the place. You could trip over those wires, but you could also get zapped by them. So there's all kinds of hazards. When it's night, you have to raise the lighting. That's bad when it's windy. It's really bad. So weather is a big thing. Luckily, we've been very fortunate. We've had maybe one day where we had to bail. We were at a pioneer village, I can't remember which one, and the rain and wind was just too bad. And then there was lightning, so that was it. We were done. But that's not bad. One day in 10 years. We've had to flip days where we knew rain was coming and we wanted to hedge our bets. But that's about it. The heat is the biggest thing. Because it's a long day and everybody's frocked up, you know, it's really difficult. And there's just nothing you can do. So you're taking the stuff off, putting it back on, and we have to take electrolytes, things like that, because you just sweat. You just sweat all day.
Talk about speaking of the wardrobe, putting on those layers, putting on that hat. As an actor, is that all part of getting into that character and getting prepared for playing that role? Is that the way, or is it at this point now in your career, it's just kind of a snap and that you can snap in and out?
It used to be a lot more the process for me. I would put it on and I felt, you know, much more sort of upright, and you have to stand a certain way when you're wearing that. I know the women talk about that a lot. You have no choice. You're strapped in. You can't really sit down, and it definitely helps. And that was more in the beginning. Now I look at it differently. My suits get built just a little bit differently so I can get some ventilation and things like that. It's more of a survival tactic now than a character thing. But there's no mistaking that you're in character when you have it on. So I guess I don't have to think about it quite as much. Having done a couple of projects over the past 2 hiatuses, I definitely had to search a bit more for who I was, what I was doing, why. And that was kind of foreign because it's been a long time since I had to do that with Murdoch.
Yeah, I think the last time that I saw you in on television was, I think it was Beauty and the Beast. Were you in the pilot episode of Beauty and the Beast? And you were playing a bad guy.
Yes, I was. That's why I chose to do it.
Yeah, okay, so talk about that choice and playing a bad guy as opposed to essentially a good guy on Murdoch Mysteries.
It's basically as simple as give me something as completely different from Murdoch as you got. So in this case, it was a low commitment type of thing, high profile. It was a U.S. network show. And it was a one-off, go to jail, you're done. So it was an easy choice. And plus, it was not a likable, positive character, although you don't know that in the beginning. So there's a bit of an exercise and a reveal of, you know, who you really are and your intentions. So that is a challenge as an actor, more so than just being the same person from the beginning to the end. So that's also why I do Napkin Man. Couldn't be more different than Murdoch. Thanks.
One more question about the process for you, and then we'll start taking some questions from the audience, so you can start lining up. Oh, right. I'm sorry. I've just been told in my ear that there's no Q&A for this session. You'll be getting to ask questions later. I apologize. Nothing like pulling the rug out from people, right? They start to get up. Yeah. So let's get to process. One more process question. Are you the type of guy where you need to have quiet and you need to go over your scripts kind of alone in your trailer or at home in a quiet room? Or are you able to pick up the lines pretty quickly? How does that work for you?
It's a bit of both.
Okay.
The read-through is the biggest thing. I kind of cement in the plot, the idea, the characters. I get to see who the characters are. Not every read-through has all the characters there because there's availability issues and that sort of thing. But when you see the people, you're like, okay, great, that's that person, and so on. And it helps lock it in because we, most of the time, have 4 episodes on the go at once. We're filming 2, we're prepping 2, so I have to make sure I have the plot straight, mostly straight. And because of the amount of words per day, I basically concentrate on that day. And I do need quiet time to just put it in. I'm a sort of, I'm not sure if it's the right term, but a proximity learner. Walk to that thing, pick up that thing, do this will help me memorize the context, but as well the words as well. So I don't know if that's me having adapted to having to do things this way for 30 years, or if that's just the way my brain works. So a couple of rehearsals and we're good to go. There are often times that we have a big denouement or a big takedown of the bad guy, and it's like 3 pages of how the body is impacted by being hung. And I have to go through, pages and pages of stuff. I got to work on that ahead of time because it has to be correct. And we don't have time for me to sit there and luxuriate in blowing lines.
Right.
So to answer your question, I spent some time alone in my trailer. I get it in there. After years of having to memorize without being able to sort of count on other people to give me their lines, I just do it by myself. Go to rehearse, and then we shoot.
For anybody that watches this show, kind of like the people here in the audience and in the other theater, one of the fun parts of being on set is when you're not having to bicycle anywhere, you're wearing your running shoes.
Yeah.
It's also no secret that you love to bicycle, or, ride bikes in the off season during hiatus.
Yeah, funny coincidence.
Yes. So I know that's worked its way into the show. Has production ever told you to back off on the biking during hiatus and during breaks? Because, dude,
is that on there?
No.
Are you supposed to ask me that?
Yeah, no, I wrote this down as a question because I'm like, you are a pretty focal point on the show. Has anybody ever said, dude, slow it down? That's a yes.
No one has ever said anything, except Tom, actually. Tom is the only one that's really worried. Even yesterday, he said, you got to bloody slow down. And I ride within my limits. I wear protective gear when I should. And you got to live, I don't know. My record's pretty good. 10 years on the show, I haven't come in too badly beat up ever.
It's part of blowing off steam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I'm sure my wife would appreciate it if I didn't think about it and do it so much, but it was actually, funny enough, it was a bit of a savior for me. I hate to use that word, but I was about 35, and I was starting to experience some emotional lows that I had never experienced before. And one of the exercises that I sort of went through was, what are the things that bring you joy? What are the things that you like to do? And of course, being out in nature is number one. And then, you think back as a kid, I used to ride my bike a lot, all day. So I sort of thought, well, if I put those things together, what do I have? Mountain biking. I'm going to try that. And so there are a lot of aspects about it that I really get off on. I tinker and I I buy, and the new stuff's coming out, and I ride and get some energy out. There's adrenaline rush. I don't know. I'm probably boring you with this now, but it has had a huge impact on my life well, I don't know if Chantel's listening, for positive most of the time. I'm sure she would rather I'd stay home and do other things sometimes, but...
Best trail that you've either been on or want to go on? Do you have a wish list, a bucket list for trails you want to go on?
Gravity would be Whistler. All-out raw riding would be Revelstoke. And then trail riding in Ontario is pretty great. You know, the type of forest and the rolling hills. There's like networks and networks of cross-country skiing. Does anybody cross-country ski? I mean, there's like thousands and thousands of miles of those trails here in Canada. So it all sort of weaves together and makes for a lot of meandering, great trails.
Okay, so let's get back to the Murdoch world and characters like Gillies and Eva Pearce. You know, people that keep coming back. Talk about Eva Pearce. She really had Murdoch in a tough spot in the season 9 finale. It's, you know, I'm sure lots of people would like to see Murdoch strapped to a bed, and they might be here in the room right now. But, you know, as seeing him vulnerable in a position like that, that was pretty tough. Were you interested when you got that script? You're like, wow, we're going in a different place with William this time around.
Well, like I said, I don't read the preliminary drafts of the script, and so, you know, pretty much everybody else on the team does. And there were a lot of, his next script, Yannick. You know, you're gonna, I'll wait for you to read it. And so there was a little bit of that going on. I'm like, what the hell's coming down the pipe here? So when I read it, the whole writing staff was all along one wall in the read-through room. There's a lot of this. So, yeah, that's a bit of a tough spot. And also dramatically, it's pretty wild. I mean, Dr. Ogden kills her. Yeah. Sort of on purpose, sort of not on purpose. And so actually we end up, we talk about that in season 10, which is going to be, it's a great bit that we have to sort of circle back to and deal with.
The fan base, when you guys do leave the set, there's a Toronto set, and I'm sure many of us have been on the set visit, which is incredible to see. But the Southern Ontario communities love this show and turn out in droves. What does it mean to you to see the crowds in these small towns, cities like Brantford, Dundas, Cambridge, that turn out to see you guys? Shout out to Brantford. I'm from Brantford. Shout out to Brantford. Brantford Public Library. What does it mean to be out in those communities and seeing those fans?
I'm going to be dead honest with you, actually. I love getting out of the studio, and going to the towns after, you know, our art department goes through and doctors it up, gets rid of some plastic or whatever. And then we get there and we start shooting. It's great to be out in Ontario. And man, when people welcome us, it wasn't like that in the beginning. Right. It was not like that in the beginning. People would honk and yell at us and you know, get off the sidewalk, and it was not great in the beginning. And we've had to sort of fight that, right down to every autograph or photograph that I do with fans. The local MPs come out, we shake hands, hug babies, I mean, everything. Because those relationships are so important, you know, on a human level, but also on a production level. We can't do what we do without the support of all of the people in those towns. You know, we're on their front lawn. We're in their driveway. We're blocking the entrance to their coffee shop. You know, it really is a pain in the ass. I would never let somebody shoot at my house, ever. It's a pain in the ass. So we're very appreciative. And plus, I mean, it's so pretty. You know, like you wouldn't think Hamilton is pretty. but it's nice. You get away from the, yes, hi. Deb's fired up. I mentioned Hamilton. But I go there a lot. I have friends, in the Dundas Valley, and we bike there. But we wouldn't be able to do it if people didn't like us coming there.
Yeah. What's one misconception that you think there is about Murdoch? Is there something that you think that people don't get about this guy? Or are there layers that we're not seeing to him yet? Or do you think that what we see now is pretty much what we get from William Murdoch?
That's a great question. One of the things for me as an actor is that Murdoch is very much a character. One of the techniques that I've always employed is to look natural. Don't look like you're acting. So I think a lot of people assume that it's just I'm that guy. But it's a lot of work and technique and time that I put in to be Detective Murdoch. And it's a character, and it's a craft, and it's something that I've been working on most of my life. And there's more to it than just, sunglasses and autographs. I work very hard to bring him to life, because it's not really what I'm like. Not at all. So I don't know how that's coming off, but honestly, it does take work. But on top of that, it's a marathon because of the hours, because of the heat, the volume of stuff that we do, the locations, the different sort of challenges that pop up day in and day out. It's not easy.
I asked the writers about this, and Baby Roland was kind of a galvanizing character in the last season. What did you think when you saw that? First of all, they were going to have this baby come into William and Julia's lives, but then that baby was going to be taken away. What did you think about that?
If they hadn't told me what the arc was, the definite beginning and an end, and it was going to happen the way that it did, I don't think that I would have been for it. I thought it was a little odd. It came out of left field, and I was, I didn't know the story yet. It was just being pitched to me or described to me. You guys are going to have a baby. And I was like, what? Where do we go from there? But then, they described how it happens, which I thought was quite cool. And very plausible. And then the fact that, we'd have to give the baby back. Ooh, something to work with there. So I was really on board at that point. And then actually there's more to it, but you'll have to watch to see.
What about, are there any angles or parts of William's life that you'd like to see explored more? Or conversely, is there another character in the cast where you'd like to see more about their backstory or things fleshed out a little bit more?
I really enjoyed early on meeting Murdoch's dad. I have a, yeah, absolutely, Stephen. Doubt we'll ever be able to get him back. He's a very busy, successful actor. But how fun. I mean, I have a very strong relationship with my dad. We've had ups and downs. But that was a fun, interesting thing, because it was a little bit of an embarrassment and oh no, what's he done now? So that was fun to explore. I don't know. I mean, it's a constant surprise. It's constantly amazing that they don't run out of ideas, those guys. It's so cool. I don't know what I would wish for next, to be honest with you. I just have no idea.
Musical episode?
had an idea, actually. What if we did a silent episode? Like silent movie?
Old school, yeah. With the cards, the dialogue cards and stuff, right?
Yeah, as little as possible of that, but wouldn't that be cool?
It would be cool.
That would require a pretty serious cohesion of talent from every single department. It would be really cool. Musical, I just feel like, man, jump the shark when you do that. I don't know. It's like the show's almost over because they're doing a musical episode. But won't it be fun?
Is there a particular historical event that you'd like to see tackled somewhere down the line? I mean, we're covering the Great Fire in this upcoming season. Anything else? Like, have you done any research ahead of time and thought, yeah, this would be kind of cool to cover?
The fire was the one I was looking forward to, and I knew, well, not in the beginning certainly, but as we were getting closer, I was like, oh man, that's gonna be cool. We're gonna put that in. We're getting into that close to that year, because when we started the show, 1895. I certainly didn't think we'd see the turn of the century. So it was, once we did, it was like, ooh, there's a fire around the corner. Let's hope we make it. And so we did, and we shot that. And how they chose to sort of bring it about, it's quite cool. It's quite cool. And I can't even say that. It's going to be really great. I really think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, it's not going to be long until we kind of get a tease into that. So, but before we get there, I want to thank you, Yannick, for taking the time to talk.
You.
I'm going to bring Muna out, but in the meantime, let's hear it for Mr. Yannick Bisson.
Thanks, everyone.
So thank you, Yannick, and thank you, Greg. That was amazing. Now we're going to take a 15-minute break and come back at 4:15 to screen Great Balls of Fire, the Season 10 premiere. And for those of you watching across the country and around the world on Facebook, we can't stream the episode, but we'll be back for cast questions and answers. And I hope you guys enjoyed your afternoon.